Hi, everyone. My name is John D. Relay, Head of Revenue Management and Onboarding at Wheelhouse. And continuing on my last video discussing how to configure these listings, I kind of want to talk to you about the two primary settings that we're going to use to kind of fit the line to your pricing. So in the last video, we discussed how to look at your own pricing, how to look at the pricing plan in general, and also correlate a few other details. In this, we're going to talk about how to use the base rate setting and the seasonality setting. Wheelhouse has quite a lot of settings, which if you're working with me, I'm sure we'll go over. And they have a number of different use cases. But in this initial part, the primary thing we really want to do is make sure that we set our base rates and also maybe make any adjustments to the seasonality if need be. The first thing to note, so I'm on this base rate setting, is the base rate is going to make the entire pricing line move up and down proportionally. Wheelhouse will recommend a base rate. This is coming from a number of factors, which you can see down below, including your own historical bookings. That means that if you have a brand new listing, you may need to make some adjustments, but normally our recommendation is going to be pretty good. There are a few ways that you can go ahead and change this base rate line. So in this example that I have here, our line is actually pretty similar, but maybe we just want to fit it a little bit more in line with this low season. The first is I can use one of these presets. These presets are going to be about a 10% swing either direction. So you can see if I set it to more conservative, it drops that whole line about 10%. You'll notice that I always just kind of check the rates in certain areas just to see where I am, to see if I'm okay. If I go to more aggressive, it's going to do the opposite. It's going to push that line up. Now, if you don't see, if you're not able to get that line to fit using one of the presets, you can also go to this rule-based mode. This will allow you to type in any value that you like, and it'll shift the line according to that value. So if our recommended's 363 and I wanted to set it to 425, you can go ahead and type that in, and the model will adjust the entire line based on that value. One rule of thumb that sometimes we see people use with base rate is sometimes they'll take their estimated expected ADR on an annualized basis, so averaged over 12 months, and they'll put that in and use that as an idea to see where their base rate is. We do also see users who come from Beyond and Price Labs put in the base rate they have there. Keep in mind, we do have different models. It will generate different results. So always, always, always just take a look at what it is your output is on the graph above. All right, so the next feature that we have is to help kind of fit this line to be in line with the pricing that you want, or maybe the pricing that you already have, is our seasonality tab. What seasonality is going to do, if I click over here on the left, is it is going to allow you to adjust the individual base rates for each month. We do have some presets here as well. They do something a little different. If I click more aggressive, you'll see that what happens is the high season goes up a little bit and the low season goes down. Let's look at this and I'll kind of show you that difference. So you can see here, the high season's here, low season's at -39. That's going to go down to -47, and these are actually going to come up to 73. So this makes it higher highs, lower lows. The more conservative is going to have the opposite impact. It's actually going to flatten out your pricing. It's going to bring the high season down a little bit and the low season up. I'll leave this on more recommended for now, and we're going to go ahead and go to another example over here. In this example, my line is pretty well fitted from the base rate. I have the base rate at a recommendation of 617. It's pretty much fitted here pretty evenly. I may make some changes in the temporal side in the short term. I'll probably do those on the calendar because I don't really want to change the base rates out here. The year-over-year structure seems to be about right. But maybe I want to go ahead and just drop this low season a little bit. So what I'm going to do here is go to rule-based. I'll go to seasonality and I'll go to rule-based. Now, the first thing you'll note is the line does shift a little when I go between data-driven and rule-based. The reason being, the model itself is actually a little bit more complex than just giving us a base rate for each season. It does take into account a little higher level of detail than we're able to do when we open it up for customization, but for the most part, it's going to be pretty similar. Now, there's a few things I can do. all I have to do to bring down these months, if I look here, it's probably November, December, January, maybe February. I can just go and type some values in here. So maybe I'll set these to -50, -50, -50, and I'll just bring this one down a little bit, down to -30. If I type those in, you can see that this is shifting just a little bit, and I can kind of almost like a sculpture just adjust these a little bit to get this pretty close to where I want it to be. Now, one thing to keep in mind is these are all percents. You can figure this out by just multiplying this percent by the base rate. You can also look at these values here, and you can use that to kind of adjust specific seasons to be in line with your pricing. Maybe I want to bring this November period down a little bit more too. Now, one thing to keep in mind while you're doing this is if you're looking at a lot of listings and you're kind of seeing the same trend over and over again, you're like, hey, everything looks pretty good. I'm able to fit the lines, but this is always lower. What you might do is take a couple of these that you've set up, figure out what the relationships are that are going to work for most of your units, and actually go ahead and copy that to all your other properties in your portfolio. All right. In our next video, we're going to go over a couple other settings that you can use to address these specific ranges, particularly areas that are, not quite aligned in the monthly, but aligned over specific dates. And we'll talk about additional ways you can change the platform. Thanks. Bye.